Hello, fourth grade families. Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful winter break. We wanted to go ahead and give you a little sneak peek as to what we will be doing in our math content for this upcoming 9 weeks. Next slide. So this is a brief overview of some of the things that we will be learning for this third 9 weeks. So for Unit 7, we will be solving problems with the 4 operations of math, which we will get into all of these a little bit more in a minute. For Unit 8, we will be decomposing and composing fractions as adding and subtracting from the same whole number. Unit 10, we will be continuing on with our fractions with understanding fraction equivalence and comparison. And then for Unit 11, we will be solving addition and subtraction word problems involving fractions and mixed numbers. So this quarter will have a lot to do with fractions, and it is going to be fantastic. For Unit 7, we will be solving problems with the 4 mathematical operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We will also be incorporating some units of measurement in during this time, so things like area and perimeter, just to give them some more real-life scenarios to kind of get to work with.
All right, in Unit 8, we will be breaking down or decomposing fractions. This is a skill that we have been building off of for quite some time. Students are going to be expected to look at a fraction and as different representations, just as a fraction itself, such as 3/8, or breaking it apart into its unit fractions, or 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. They are also going to be expected to take them apart, but also find different ways to put them back together. We will be continuing to look at it as fractions on a number line as well. An example of what this might look like towards the end of the unit. This is not expectation right away. This is kind of like our end goal. We want to continue with those real life examples for the students. And so we'll be using things like toys, and we'll talk about how deciding how many toys to give away, but doesn't know what type of fraction we can use. This is where the student knowledge of fractions and using those visual representations will come into place based off their prior knowledge of fractions. In Unit 10, we will be continuing on fractions, except at this point we are going to be looking at comparing and creating equal or equivalent fractions. So what this would look like is when you're given a picture, and you can look at the different ways that you can look at the same fraction or the same picture and look at it in a different way, but they represent the same things. So for example, you take the whole, which is 12 hearts, or you can break it up into thirds. So if you look at the 1/3 is equal to 4/12, those two parts are the same, okay? 1/3 is equal to 4/12. So students will be using basic multiplication facts that we have been working on since 3rd grade in order to find or create and compare equivalent fractions.
And then finally, we're going to wrap up our third 9 weeks with Unit 11, in which there's another bit of words I need. Thank you. In which the focus is on mixed numbers and adding and subtracting those mixed numbers. Students will be seeing that mixed numbers can be manipulated or added and subtracted just like whole numbers. So an example of that is this word problem. Students will have word problems that they'll be solving similar to this. Ursula picked carrots and radishes from her garden. She picked 4 1/4 pounds of carrots and 1 3/4 pounds of radishes. How many more pounds of carrots did she pick than radishes? So students will decide what operation they need to use, addition or subtraction, and then they will be able to add and subtract those mixed numbers just as they would whole numbers. So that whole number understanding will help them with this. Also in Unit 11, students will be learning about different visual representations such as line plots and extracting information from those visual representations. So on the screen, you just see an example of Some questions a student might be asked when looking at a visual representation such as a line plot. And the students would use the information on the representation in order to answer the questions. And so that is what we're learning in our third 9 weeks at David Urey 4th grade. We're so excited to teach your student math this quarter.